I did a survey of this building back around probably about 20 odd years ago. I researched a little bit of the history of the building. There wasn't a whole lot of information there, but I found whatever I could find and I wrote up a little piece on it. So this is the school building here, constructed in 1874, and we can see that it is a fine edifice of a building. It's a protected structure, by the way, as well, so we should remember that under the Planning Acts. Built in 1874, fine two-storey building, limestone on the corner quines, brickwork around the reveals at the windows and the doors, decorative chimney pots. And while we have had two other school buildings, the original attached school building on this very same site, and then the later one that was built down the road in 1955. But this building is unique in many ways, and this building should be looked after, certainly, and it is being looked after in fairness, but it should be, I suppose, valued by the community, because it is a very fine structure, and particularly where it stands on this elevated site of the village, looking down over the green there in front of the church. It is really a fabulous edifice of a building, and it is, I suppose it is the most important in terms of the school history, even though we've had the other two buildings, but this one, the fact that it's still there, I suppose, and the type of building that it is, and thankfully it's being used today to a great extent as a parish centre, so that's great to see that as well, I suppose. But it is a fine building, it is a fine location, it is a fine elevated site, so all of those things, and so from that point of view, I suppose it holds a very strong influence on the whole history of primary education in Lusk, and a lot of people would remember being in that building as part of their primary education. As a school building from its time, 1874, it's quite unique as a building structure. I think if we look at it outside, we'll see that there are very few school buildings from that time, first and foremost, that are two-storey, that are of that particular design, the building features and design that we see externally. So we're in the old school building that was constructed here in 1874. So we're in the upstairs of this building, which was there were two classrooms up here, and the girls these were the girls' classrooms. Now, since that time, obviously in more recent times, probably in the last 3 or 4 years, this building has been renovated, so it's quite modern internally now. So all the new plaster work and so on. Fireplace was over there. One of these rooms was actually quite small, relatively speaking, and then a much larger room. In fact, somewhere along here, as I understand it, there was a wall. And so that was a very, very small room, and there was a fireplace there. And the larger room then had a fireplace over here. So there was a fireplace in each of the rooms. And likewise, downstairs, there was 2 fireplaces in the original building, because that was the only mode of heating for that time. The backyard was very small for a playground area and so on, but there were toilets out here as well, and there was no main sewage drains in Lusk at the time, and not for a long time afterwards indeed. And it's only a vague recollection that I have, but it is a very small space, and again. As far as I know, that the boys used the back space, and perhaps the girls used the front. I'm not really sure, or it could even have been both playgrounds could have been at the back. There was a wall across there. Part of the wall has been reconstituted there, and that divided 2 separate play areas. When the new school was built in 1955 and opened down there in January 1956. Strangely enough, it wasn't designed to cater for any more pupils that were in this building here. So the 4-teacher school, approximately 120 pupils. When the new school was opened down in 1956, it was designed to cater for 130 pupils. The same amount, 4 teachers, 4 classrooms. So I suspect it was nothing to do with increasing the accommodation, but more to do with modern facilities, play areas, sanitation, and heating and all that kind of thing, because there was no heating here other than the open. From the early 1800s, the ethos, if you like, was non-denominational,
in terms of the schools and education and so on. And that eventually came then to being interdenominational for a period of time, and then fully denominational, where you had the Catholic schools and the other religious schools and so on. And now, so that was a full circle twist. Now the circle has gone around again, because in recent years you've had the Educate Together schools and the Gael schools and so on, which are completely separate, with being non-denominational. So from the non-denominational in the early 1800s, full circle back to non-denominational, and there's a lot of work going on now with passing on some of the school buildings from the church to non-denominational bodies. So perhaps 2 circles have gone around, I suspect, over 170 years or thereabouts.